Hey, how are you? Haven't seen you in a long time. What's that? Did you get a new tattoo? Yeah, that's nice.
Remember that car I bought a few weeks ago?
Yeah, are you loving it?
Well, when I signed everything, they didn't give me copies of my paperwork.
Oh, you mean that you walked out of the dealership without making sure that you had copies of everything that you signed first?
Yeah, well, they promised me a free car wash, a second key, and a cup of coffee, and when I went in to get them today, they all acted like they had no idea what I was talking about.
Okay. Oh, I see. So it's a he said, she said situation because you didn't make sure that a very important document was filled out on your behalf.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
Hi, everybody. I'm Kimberly, and welcome to Auto Finance Sense, where I help you make sense of the dealership finance office the next time you buy a car. Let's get started. Well, you asked for it, and I thank you for taking the survey. We're going to start going over different documents that you can expect to find and to sign in the dealership finance office. Now, I like to break these documents down into 3 different categories. The first one being state and federal documents. Next would be documents that are specifically for the dealership and or the manufacturer. And last, the fiduciary documents. Here are just a few examples of what you'll see under each category, and certainly not limited to. So under state and federal documents, you'll see things like application for title, power of attorneys, privacy notices, odometer disclosures, buyer's guide for used vehicles, electric vehicle documents, credit application, bill of sale, and trade documents. The second category, under documents specifically for the dealership and or the manufacturer, I kind of like to break them down into 3 categories as well. Acknowledgements, disclosures, and forms. A few examples for acknowledgement forms would be a CPO form, a WIO, dealer-tied programs such as free car washes, lifetime warranties, or free maintenance. Disclosures would be things like the non-sharing or selling of information, and forms would be things like a trade payoff form or rebate form. And last will be the fiduciary documents. This is going to be your retail installment sales contract or your bank contract, leases, lending disclosures, collected lender stipulations, and receipts. And the first one we're going to go over today is the purchase order, or maybe you've heard it called the buyer's order. Now, the purchase order shows your bottom line figure by itemizing out all the costs, fees, allowances, payoffs, and down payment of the vehicle that you're buying. 2 very important things to know about the purchase order or the buyer's order is 1, a purchase order can be used before all the firmed up state fees are applied but not signed. What are firmed up fees? Firmed up fees are going to be your state fees. So for example, if you live in Virginia and you're buying a vehicle that is being sold in Pennsylvania, you would be paying Virginia state fees and sales tax. And the second most important thing about a purchase order is only put your signature on that purchase order after you have gone over it line by line and all those figures make sense to you. Do make sure that it has a manager's signature on it as well. If you are ordering a car or they're bringing a vehicle in from somewhere else for you to purchase, and they give you a purchase order with the price of the vehicle on it, but it does not have firmed up fees, you can take it upon yourself to handwrite any notes right there on the purchase order. You initial it, have a sales manager initial it as well. For example, you might want to put a note right there on the purchase order that says Virginia state fees or 2 keys to be included. Have the sales manager put his signature right next to it and yours as well. Please make sure that you stick around until the end of this video because my last document is something that many people don't think about, and it is so important. Okay, if the finance manager has put a loan together for you and you're financing right then and there, you'll be signing a retail installment sales contract, also known as a bank contract. This is a contract that you will be signing, agreeing to the details that are outlined in that document, such as payment and terms. Now, a bank contract adds and subtracts things differently, and at first, it can make your eyes race whenever you look at it. So I would say before you do anything, make sure that you compare the bottom line of the bank contract. So go right down the line, look for the bottom line of the bank contract. Compare that to the bottom line of your purchase order. Do they match? Because they certainly should. Your purchase order does not provide terms of financing. A lot of people think it does, but it does not. Remember, your purchase order simply itemizes out the price of the vehicle, any fees, any products that may be in there, and then gives you the bottom line. But the bank contract is what gives you the loan terms. Now, maybe you've heard stories of people going to the dealership, signing everything, driving their car for a week or two, and then getting a phone call from the dealership saying, hey, we couldn't get your loan done or funded. You need to come back in and either forfeit the vehicle or sign new loan documents with an updated term and payment. This can also be called yo-yo financing. But here are two things that you're going to make sure of so that that doesn't happen to you. The first one is ask the finance manager directly. Is this loan already approved? Do you have a full approval? Because I want to avoid any changes in this loan. And secondly, ask the finance manager, do your bank contracts immediately fund digitally, or do you put them in snail mail? You can even tell the finance manager and the sales manager, if you want, that you don't want to sign any documents until your loan is 100% approved and secure. Now, there are a lot of really good dealerships out there that simply won't put people into a vehicle unless they have that full approval. But as you know, not all dealerships are good ones. What does your retail installment sales contract or bank contract look like? Well, it could look like this. Or it could print out on 8.5 by 11 paper and be several pages. It might be on a tablet, you might sign digitally, or it might be printed out like this one in a giant printer. But across the top of the contract, you will find your name and address, the dealership's name and address, the vehicle with its VIN, year, make, model, and maybe a stock number. And then below it, you will see a trade with its information if you have a trade-in. And then below it, you will see the TILA, or the Truth in Lending Act disclosures. That's going to show your APR, your finance charge, the amount financed, total of payments, and then your all-in total sale price of the vehicle. Below that, you're going to see number of payments, how much that payment is, and when the first payment is due. Usually, these dates default to 45 days out to the first payment. But if a date in between 30 to 45 days works better for you, just have the finance manager change that for you. It's not a problem. And then you're going to see a box that shows penalties for late payments. Now, maybe you'll have a grace period of 5, 10, or 15 days, but it's going to disclose to you what the penalties will be if you go beyond that grace period. If you purchased any products like a vehicle service contract, maintenance, tire, wheel, whatever it might be, that will also break out on your bank contract. And remember, most bank contracts have a no cooling off period clause, which means once you've signed this contract, you've bought yourself a car. Before I go over the last and very important document, remember, before you sign anything in the dealership finance office, go over your purchase order first. All right, last but not least is something called the WIO. Why is a WIO document so very important? Because it prevents he said, she said scenarios from happening. I really feel like the WIO document is always often overlooked for some reason, and I'm not sure why that is. Every dealership should have them. It protects the dealership, but it also protects you too. The WIO can be used anytime before the sale or during the sale when you're signing the documents. An example of the dealership using the WIO would be maybe your trade-in had 2 keys and you didn't have both of them with you and you still need to bring the other one in. An example of the finance manager using the WIO would be if you needed to bring in stipulations that were required by the bank, such as a pay stub. Or one that I have often used is whenever the customer didn't bring their trade title with them. And you, as a customer and the dealership, can use the WIO if the dealership owes you something. Like, what if they owe you a second key to your new vehicle? They would put that on that WIO. Now, the key to this is that everybody has to sign it. It's an acknowledgement, so it's got to be signed by you. You get a copy of it, and it must be signed by a sales manager and or a finance manager. Let's say that you agreed to the purchase of a used vehicle, but maybe that vehicle wasn't cleaned as well as you'd like it, and you want it detailed. And the sales manager says, okay, we'll do that for you. But nobody writes it down, nobody documents it anywhere, and then you come back to pick up your vehicle and it's not done. Well, that would be a he said, she said situation. So make sure that you use that WIO document to its fullest. Now that's just an overview of 3 extremely important documents that you'll be signing in the dealership finance office. I will be doing more videos like this, and I'll also be going into deep dives on each document. I'm also going to be doing some videos on the products, what questions to ask, and how to find out what are good products and not so good products. As always, I thank you so much for being here. Please do the YouTubey things, hit the like, subscribe, and the notification bell so that you know every time I upload a new video. I love to see your comments below, and I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day. Take care. Bye-bye.